to On Sprue Review. My name's Violet Sun, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Mark 6 Tactical Squad, a box of 20 miniatures by Games Workshop for the Horus Heresy game. Now, I did buy the big Age of Darkness starter box, but apparently that wasn't enough Beaky Marines for me. So here I am reviewing the separate box release for the core troops. And as we usually do, let's start off by taking a look at the box itself. Now, I really like these new boxes. The art style is really nice. You've got this really atmospheric piece of composited image here with buildings in the background, some CG flames, some extra weapon effects, and not even showing off how many figures you've got. You've only got about 7 guys, maybe a couple of others hidden in the flames back there, but it's enough to show you what the figures look like. There's a lot of repeats in this box, but yeah, this is really nice. I really like that they've added some artwork on the front as well, kind of similar to the Necromunda boxes in that way. And the new logo and text is all, it's nice, it's clear what it says. I don't think there's any complaints to be had there. And the back of the box, it's pretty cool. Got this nice beige background, lightens up, and you get a good contrast between that and the miniatures, so you can really clearly see some 100% scaled images of some representative Space Marines, and then a half-scaled image of all 20 together in one picture. I really like this. It's a good way of showing off what you get in the box without having to have an enormous picture of all these guys on the front of the box. That would just look so silly compared to the cool artwork that we ended up getting. Also get some nice simple painting guides on the side here, just giving you pointers if you want to either do the Sons of Horus or Imperial Fists paint schemes. And I'm sure this would be enough to get most people started. So yeah, very cool box. I think this is a big step up from even the nice ones we've had for 40k recently. Yeah, I like it. But let's take a look at what you get inside. As you'd expect from a box containing 20 miniatures, there's a lot of plastic here. You of course get a bag with 20 bases, some nice water slide transfers with markings for both Sons of Horus and Imperial Fists, and there's kind of a mix of markings. It's not just the ones that you'd want for tactical squads, but there's a few other markings as well, which is cool. Gives you some bits to save up for when you're working on other models that maybe don't come with transfers. Of course, the important instructions, which I'm just going to set to one side for a moment. Get 2 sprues with some of the weapons, the plain bayonets, pistol holsters, and bits for the sergeants and a few specialists bits in there. So this is enough to have 2 10-man squads rather than 1 big 20-man squad, which is good. And then you've got 4 identical sprues, each with 5 Space Marines, with bolt guns, and the chain bayonets are available there as well. But before we dive into looking at the plastic in detail, let's have a little look at the instructions, see how they are. Now, this is a very simple set of instructions again, very similar to the ones for the squat prospectors that I reviewed last week. It's just a single sheet of paper with how to put the Marines together. The instructions are clear enough. They are a little small, but I think Space Marines are quite an easy figure to put together. There's not too many small pieces. It's quite clear where most of the parts go. I do prefer the full colour instructions that you usually get with 40k minis, but these are okay. They definitely show enough detail that you're going to get the models together, and these are quite simple figures. They're about 10 or 11 pieces. depending on which pose, because some of them have the model broken into more pieces, and of course depending on how many accessory pieces you put on the figures as well. Yeah, these are sort of minimum passing grade, I would say, for instructions. They're going to get your model together, but there's no extra frills included, no rules, no painting guide. It's just the very, very basics. So with the instructions looked at, let's start taking a look at the sprues. Obviously there are duplicates of both of these, but I'm just going to take a look at one of each of them. And why not start with the actual Space Marines themselves? Now these new Space Marines are very, very nice. The detail on them is very crisp. The iconic kind of Y-shaped power cabling on the front of the Mark 6 torsos looks very nice, very nicely detailed. I think the parts breakdown on these is pretty smart. This one is a very small number of pieces to get the actual torso together. You've got the front of the torso, one thigh, one whole leg, and then the back of the torso and the bottom of that leg, and that's that whole body to get put together, which is only one more piece than the old school single piece legs and front and back of torso kits. But the detail here is so much nicer. The shaping of the armour is much more sleek and better developed than the old models. And just stuff like the panel lines just look so much more crisp for having a bit of extra part breakdown just to allow the molds to be facing the right part of the model to get the detail on. And if you're not a fan of following the numbers to put your models together, there are actually a few neat tricks built into these to help you get them together. If you look on the back of this leg, you have this kind of T-shaped panel. And on the back of the matching leg, again, a T-shaped panel. And that's replicated throughout the whole sprue. This pose, the guy's got kind of a sphere on the back of the leg. And the matching leg has the same sort of detail. So you can just clip all these parts, and the only thing I'd be worried about is getting the back and the front of the torso together. From what I can tell, there's no sort of identifying mark for those, but at least for the legs, there's something that's going to help you get them together. And a similar consideration has been done for the arms. You have kind of mirrored detail. In this case, this little kind of square panel is on both of these forearms. This forearm has the kind of 3 vent slashes, and so does the matching one. But again, you kind of need the bolt gun to go with these arms. So, and I don't think there's really another identifying mark on this. So there's some help, but I'd still be careful to make sure you're putting the right pieces together. You can swap the pairs of arms from any torso onto any other torso. They do all fit, but you do want to keep both arms from the same pose and the bolt gun from that pose all together, just because the angles of the hands and such like it are all slightly different. I'm sure you could get bolt guns from different poses to work on different sets of arms, but you're going to look at needing to do some pinning and some filling just to redo the kind of wrist joints. Speaking of the bolt guns, this rework of the Umbra pattern bolt gun looks really nice. It's a little bit shorter than the previous versions of it, but I think it looks really nice. Very chunky, big curved magazine with plenty of detail on it. Yeah, definitely an iconic version of the bolter that's linked with the Horus Heresy. And of course, to go with those bolters, you have the chain bayonets, something that's been brought back from the Rogue Trader days. These were something that were quite common around then and have kind of lurked in the background, but again, they're once again in a plastic kit. And they look pretty cool. very brutal pointy chain blades. One interesting choice is to do the moulding for the helmets sideways rather than with the face pointing outwards. This does mean that you then have a mould line running up the very front of the face, which is a bit of a pain because you definitely have to go in very carefully and remove that because it'd be very obvious otherwise. But thankfully the mould lines on these at the moment are very, very slight, and it only takes a little bit of work to remove that mould line. There are a couple of kind of more specialised heads. There's this bear shouty head, along with a head that can be used to make up the sergeant for the squad. He has a mounting point for the big transverse crest, and he has a little bit of an extra optic as well as an eagle. And then on the other side of the sprue there's this kind of gas masked up bear head, which looks pretty cool. I'm not entirely sold on this gas mask design, but yeah, overall I think it looks okay. Of course, another iconic part of the Space Marine design is the backpack. These are this new Mark VI style that's kind of a callback to the old Rogue Trader days again, with the very rounded upper parts of the kind of exhaust vents and this multi-tiered layered plates and the cables in the sides. I'm still slightly thrown by how tall these backpacks are compared to previous designs. They look fine once they're actually on the models, it's just when they're separate they look a little bizarre. But as the Space Marines themselves have got a little bit taller, it looks pretty in proportion. One design choice that has been a little bit controversial is the way the studded shoulder pads have been done. Now these have been broken into two pieces with a join line right up the centre. Now this has been done to actually give these larger studs some more definition. If you were to do this in the same style as the one-piece shoulder pads, you'd have to have a huge draft angle and just loads of extra plastic behind here to allow the model to actually release from the mould. And in fact, I think with this sort of size stud, these ones would just be such a smeared mess. It just would look terrible. Yes, these are more work, but I found if you just put just a little bit more glue than you think you normally need on the inside edge, that's enough to kind of melt the plastic between the two pieces and get rid of most of the join line. They do need a little bit of cleaning up, and it is a little bit more work, but I think it's worth it for the extra detail. And of course, for the other side, they're these more plain shoulder pads. They're not completely detailless, despite not having the rim that's more common on 40k era Space Marines. They do have some little panel cuts just to make them a little bit more interesting. That's kind of it for this sprue. There's it's a lot of parts, but it's just 5 Space Marines with bolt guns. So let's have a little look at the kind of specialist upgrade sprue that comes in this kit. Now you get one of this sprue for every 10 figures, and that's been quite nicely thought out. You've got 10 bolt pistol holsters, so everyone can have one of those. 10 of the non-chain bayonets, the just regular solid metal kind, and they're quite cool. I like the little serrated detail on them, and the sort of locking mechanism that holds them onto the bolt is very nicely designed. Get quite a lot of extra details. Pouches and grenades are plenty. A nice little augury scanner, a melter bomb, and some fancy scrolls maybe for your sergeant. Some more of those gas masks that you see one of the bare-headed guys wearing. You also get 2 more bare heads. Now I think this guy is meant to be for the Nuncio Vox operator, a piece which you get here to attach to his backpack as well. And this guy I think can work for the sergeant or any sort of veteran in the squad. You also get a Vexilla, which is kind of like a squad standard. It's a cool part. It's a very Horus Heresy specific piece. but it's a nice inclusion. And then you get a few extra weapons for your sergeant. A plasma pistol. I really like this sleek designer plasma pistol. It looks much fancier than the bulkier kind that you get in 40k. Also get a big old power fist. This has the fingers and thumb made as separate pieces, which is quite cool. You get a lot of extra detail that way. Some of the older designs of power fist, all of these would be one piece, built into the fist all in one casting, which did tend to end up looking a little, the details get a bit squished together. You can also turn the power fist into a lightning claw with the use of this little bit here, which is quite cool. You also get a very nice, very slender power sword. I do like how elegant that looks. It is a little odd though that you don't get a bolt pistol anywhere in this kit. Obviously you have these holstered ones, but you would think for the sergeant, if you didn't want to give him a plasma pistol, there would be a bolt pistol included somewhere here. Not to say this sprue isn't packed with cool parts, but I would probably forego an extra set of grenades to have the option to give my sergeant a bolt pistol. And speaking of the sergeant, the crest for the head that's on the other sprues here, it's a little odd that they're split between the two different sprues. Maybe one of these heads, the Nuncio Vox or the kind of veteran looking head, could have gone on that sprue, and then you'd get two of those rather than an extra sergeant head that doesn't have a crest to attach to it with every 5 Space Marines. Yeah, so it's an interesting choice. You also get this little detail piece, which I think is quite cool. Just a little aerial with some extra optics, which I think you could attach to almost any head to just give it a little bit more detail. That's kind of it for the extra sprue. There's quite a lot on it, but a lot of it's taken up with repeats of holsters and bayonets and whatnot. I say I would like to have seen a couple more options for the sergeant. So all in all, I think it's a really cool kit. To see a new take on the classic beaky version of the Space Marine in plastic is very nice. I will be using these for both Horus Heresy and for 40k. With some appropriate modifications, I think these will look great in 40k armies as well. And whilst there's a few extra bits and pieces I think could have been included, it's not a bad balance of parts. Having 2 different bayonet choices, but not the full option of sergeant weapons, is maybe not the choice I would have made. But having said that, I have bought rather a lot of these because I really like them. And my obvious, what am I going to do with this? I think it's more, what am I not going to do with this? I have an Imperial Fist Force that I'm working on, that I'm going to be showcasing both on Taylor 4 Gamer series, which has started on Arbiter Ian's channel. I'll put a link to the first episode up there. But I'm also planning on doing a few extra videos on here just to show you a few of the conversions I'm doing with this kit and others for that army. And as I say, I think I'm going to use some of these for 40k as well. I've got both a Crimson Fist and Black Templars force in 40k that I want some firstborn troops, and I've been kind of holding out for a new kit to fill those out with, just to augment the Primaris troops I already have for those armies. But I think you could do a lot with these. If you've got a cool idea for converting this kit, pop it in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear anyone's conversion plans for these. If this video has been useful, if you could drop a like on it, that would be much appreciated. It always helps out the channel. If you want to see some more reviews, I've already got a few other Horus Heresy reviews on my channel and other kits from Games Workshop as well. And subscribing to the channel is the quickest way to get informed about new videos as they come out. Thank you very much for watching, and happy hobbying.